What's up, fams? Coach Cam back again with another video, and in today's video we're going to be discussing overtraining. Now we're going to be discussing what is overtraining, how to avoid it, and why should you avoid overtraining, right? So let's start by talking about what is overtraining. So there's kind of two definitions. Let's go through both of them. The first definition would be doing way too much training, right? Doing so much training that you're exhausted, right? You're hurting, you're in pain. You cannot recover not only from your training, but even your daily life is giving you too much stress. It's setting you over the edge. You're sluggish. You know, these are the symptoms of overtraining, right? You have no motivation, you're moody, you're depressed, maybe even anxious, and ultimately you're very tired. Sometimes you can be overtraining and you're overstimulated, so it's like harder to go to sleep, stuff like that. That is essentially what overtraining feels like in a nutshell. How to actually overtrain. So if you're going to overtrain, you need to be doing too much, right? You need to be training too hard for too long. I won't really say that training too hard is going to overtrain you. It's really just doing too much. So you can train really hard, but the harder you train, the less you can train, the less you can do and still recover and adapt from. So if you're overtraining, by definition, you're doing too much of a difficult thing, right? Too much stress is in your life. So this can come mostly from training stress, but also outside life stressors can also come in and affect your overall stress of your life, right? So maybe your training stress is low, but you have a ton of family stress and stress in your job and stress in your household. That's all going to come together and can kind of give you overtraining symptoms, even if you're training not even that much, right? So essentially, that's what overtraining is. I myself experienced overtraining back when I was in college running cross country. In about a 10-day period, I did 5 or 6 really hard workouts and set basically personal bests in these workouts. And then at the end of that period was a 10K road race that we did, in which I also set a new personal best there. But after that race, I pushed myself so hard that I felt absolutely terrible for weeks. Okay, I was laying in my bed in college and my heart was like fluttering. It felt really, really weird. And I was like getting ice packs and putting ice packs on my body and stuff. And I was searching up videos on overtraining because I didn't know what was going on. And I knew running felt terrible. Even easy, slow running felt awful. It felt hard to do. I was really nervous because we were coming down to the end of the season with the national championship coming up for our small college. So basically 2 weeks leading into that, I barely ran at all. I biked a little bit and just tried to recover as best I could. And I actually somehow managed to run a decent race. It was not my best race at all. Nowhere near like my potential, but it was still within range of some of the races I'd already run that year. So that's my experience with overtraining. I actually have a second one I'm going to share with you as well. Summer of 2016, I went to Colorado Springs and I was training cross country, so I was running a lot. Started the summer running about 20 miles a week, 25, and then ramped up every week until the end of the summer. I was running 80 plus miles a week, and that was overtraining for me. And let me explain. I was icing my Achilles tendons on both legs just to be able to finish that many miles in a week. It's not worth it, right? I could have trained harder and done way less volume and gotten the same or if not better results. So don't get so caught up in how much training you're doing. It's really more about the quality of your training and how hard you're pushing yourself. That's going to help get you the best results without experiencing overtraining. So usually people's bodies will get injured before they get to that point that I got to with overtraining, where it was kind of like a cardiovascular overtraining, like my heart felt terrible, right? And usually people will get injured before that point. So they probably don't know what I'm talking about in terms of that or what I've experienced, because usually something snaps before they get there. But that's what overtraining is. Now, why should you avoid it? because you don't want to feel like trash, right? You want to be able to train consistently over time, making progress, and you want to still have a life. You want to still be able to talk to your family and friends and be kind and have energy to play with your kids, to be a person, to go to work, to have a smile on your face, right? If you're overtraining, you're not going to have these things. It's going to be harder to exhibit a smile when you're exhausted all the time, right? It's going to start affecting your sleep. It's going to start affecting your family life, your social relationships. So, and you might have to look your spouse in the eye and be like, I think I'm training too much. Like, I think that's why I'm in such a bad mood. That's why I feel so terrible and just angry when I walk in the door. So sometimes that can be an overtraining thing. And these are all things I've experienced as well. So I'm not just making this up. I've constantly analyzed my training, and I've definitely gone through all these phases. So let's go ahead and dive into how to avoid overtraining. So first, I would suggest less frequent training. So taking days off, it's so important. I know a lot of people don't want to take days off. They love training. They love training all the time. And you're setting yourself up to probably overtrain, right? It's not that hard to overtrain. To do an excessive amount of exercise. And that kind of brings me back to the second definition of overtraining, which really is doing more training than what was necessary to elicit an adaptive response. So if you're doing more volume, more sets than needed, it is essentially wasted effort. It's not accumulating to more stimulus. It's just going to get you more fatigued once you've already reached the maximal stimulus for that exercise or for that activity. So say you're a distance runner and you're doing 400-meter repeats, and say you really only need 8 400-meter reps to get a maximal stress on your body to adapt, but your coach wants you to do 16 400s. You might be overtraining. Like, you might have done more than what was needed to stimulate your body for the adaptations you're looking for. So just be mindful of that. And I think the first step would be try to train less frequently. Just cut out some of your really easy days. Take recovery days seriously. And so the second thing going along with recovery days would be to train easier. You can train instead of just training less frequently, you can just train easier and keep the same frequency. That's pretty much what distance runners do. That's what we did. We trained 6 days a week most of the time, and we had probably at least 3 to 4 easier days. So that is an option. However, for general like gym training, I do not recommend doing that. I think it's pointless to train easy with weights. I think you need to train all out hard or don't train at all. And that's kind of my take on it, and that's my belief, and that's what I've seen that's gotten the best results. I don't think that an easy day pushes the needle forward for you. Now, maybe mentally you want an easy day, and mentally it makes you feel better that you went to the gym and stuff like that, and that's cool. If that's what you want to do, you can do it. I'm just saying, based on the actual physiology of your body, I don't think easy days get you more improvements than just doing the hard days. So that's, if you're a distance runner, you can try that as well. Just do the hard days. I did that for a long time as well. Just training the hard days, really not doing much easy work whatsoever, probably will get you about the same results. So that the next step to avoiding overtraining is doing less activities or less sports. A lot of people are in multiple sports, multiple activities all the time. They're constantly go, go, go. They got this sport practice, that sport practice. They got to go to the gym and do this and do that. If you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, it's a lot easier to overtrain, right? Because you're so busy that you can't slow down. And you have all these responsibilities that you have to take care of, especially if there's sports or anything very physical. Just highly increases your risk of overtraining, right? Highly increases your risk of coming down with those symptoms that we talked about earlier, of feeling extremely sluggish, tired, unmotivated, angry. Your performance goes down, fatigue is really, really high, cortisol is really high. You don't want to experience that. And I'll go into a little story time too. I actually talked about this on a video on my page many months ago, that I saw a news article online of a coach, a former Navy SEAL, who was coaching a lacrosse team through a workout. This is high school lacrosse team. And he sent 12 of them to the hospital with rhabdomyolysis, right? Rhabdo. And that's when your muscle breaks down, the proteins in your muscle break down and start getting sent through your bloodstream. And it creates a very toxic environment. And some of you watching this may have experienced that before. And that's insane. And that's extremely scary. And I've never personally experienced that. And I don't ever want to. But it's just crazy out there that there's some people that believe overtraining doesn't even exist. Like, you really just can't overtrain. And then there's people over here getting injuries and getting sent to the hospital with rhabdo. So you can definitely overtrain. Your muscle's not meant to do infinite volume, but training hard allows you to limit that volume. So next we'll talk about is sleep. You need to be sleeping the most that you can. That will help you avoid overtraining. A lot of people also will come down with sickness. They'll get sick and have to lay in bed for a few days, and sometimes they get sick every few months. It's like, well, maybe you're overtraining and your body is forcing you to take that rest that you wouldn't naturally choose to take, right? It's forcing you to take that rest. So sometimes you need to sleep and you need to take rest days so that you don't grind yourself into the ground and have to get sick, and then your body forces you to take a rest day. The next thing you can do is avoid eating garbage food and try to eat clean. Eat healthy, whole foods. I say this all the time. You want to try to build your diet around eating foods that have one ingredient, right? Potatoes. What's in it? Potatoes. Like broccoli, tomatoes, chicken, steak. Like, these all have one ingredient foods, right? And they're usually found in the perimeter of the grocery store. And oftentimes they're usually refrigerated because they actually contain live nutrients that your body needs and can absorb. So just be mindful of that and try to eat clean. Avoid eating a whole bunch of sugary junk foods and high fatty junk foods, because that is going to negatively affect your performance, your health, your mood, your energy, your motivation, your psychology. Did I say mood already? Your muscle, your hydration, everything is affected by the choices that you make. So if you're making choices to eat garbage, you're probably going to feel like garbage. So those are my big takeaways, really, and that's the bulk of this video of how to avoid overtraining. You don't want to overtrain and come down with rhabdomyolysis or any of the symptoms that we're talking about. Instead, you want to have a balanced approach to your training. You want to have days off, days that are for recovery, days that you prioritize yourself and your body and not just grinding the training stimulus over and over and over again. Likely, if you train hard enough, you can send that signal to your body. You don't have to repeat it over and over and over. If you send the signal appropriately, with the appropriate dosage of exercise, you can limit these negative consequences of overtraining, and you'll be able to be confident knowing that, hey, I sent the stimulus to my body received the stimulus, and now I'm well on my way to recovering and adapting and getting stronger, bigger, faster over time, right? So that's the goal. If that's you, you need to have a balanced approach so that you're not sending yourself and digging yourself a hole, getting more and more fatigue. Because fatigue masks fitness, I say that all the time. Fatigue masks fitness. So if you're tired on that day, your fitness is not going to shine through. You're fitter than that, but you can't see your fitness if the fatigue is still there. You have to drop the fatigue in order to actually exhibit the fitness that you have underneath. So hopefully this video helped you guys understand what overtraining is, how to avoid it, why you should avoid it. Send this to a friend or anybody that you think would benefit. It's important to have a balanced approach. That's why I train around 2 times a week, about every 3 to 5 days, so that I have plenty of recovery days and I show up to the gym ready to try to make PRs on all my exercises. I'm not there to train easy. I don't recommend training easy. I recommend training hard and then recovering. You can train hard and safe. Just because you're training hard doesn't mean it's dangerous. So keep that in mind as well. But I appreciate so much you guys watching. Check out my Instagram, coach4_cam. And then if you guys need any coaching or any help with anything, leave any comments down below, message me on Instagram, and thanks so much for watching.